Welcome back, grade 11s. I hope you are relaxed and ready now to start with our application questions. Let's look at the first one, which says that we must explain two methods of recruitment and give examples of each. Now, to answer this question, you must know what methods of recruitment are. Now, you note to say that we have what we call internal recruitment. Now, this already gives you an idea of what the second one is. It will definitely be external recruitment. Now, let's look at what external recruitment is. It says there, it is the process used by businesses to advertise vacant positions of the business internally. Now, very important to note is that we are looking for candidates that are already inside the business. So we are not going to go outside to search for candidates. We pick from the ones that are already inside the business. Now remember that the question wanted us to give examples. So let's look at the examples of internal. We can either use emails. So the human resource manager can simply just send emails to the employees, or they can use the word of mouth approach where they simply tell their employees that there is a vacant position. They can also use the newsletters where it differs from business to business, where some issue out newsletters on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. We can also use notice boards of the business where we can just put the information and employees will be able to read that there is a vacant position that is available. We can also use what we call headhunting within the business. Now, this simply means that the human resource manager will look at their employees' qualifications, and then from there they will determine who is the most suitable candidate. After that, they will then inform that person that there is a vacant position available that they can apply for. Then we also have, like we said, external recruitment. So this is the process used by businesses to advertise the vacant position of the business externally. So now we are looking for new employees outside the business. Now, the examples will include using recruitment agencies. Now, with agencies, these are the people that will help the business to find candidates on their behalf. And then we also have printed media such as the newspaper. Now, this is the most common way to advertise a position, where the business will simply pay to advertise their vacant position on the newspaper so that whoever that reads the newspaper can see that there is a vacant position. They can also use electronic media such as the radio and the TV. And then lastly, the business can also use social media. I'm sure you might have come across certain jobs that were being advertised as you were scrolling through your social networks. Let's then look at our application question number 2, which says we must read the scenario again and then answer the question, which says, quote two roles of the interviewer during the interview from the scenario. And then let's look at the scenario together. It says, Quresh invited 5 candidates to attend an interview. He introduced members of the interviewing panel to each candidate. He also provided each interviewee the opportunity to ask questions. Jane, the successful candidate, was given an employment contract. Now remember, grade 11s, that the interviewer is known as the business or the panel members. Now these are the people that are offering you the job. Now you need to know their roles during an interview So in this case, we are looking at what is it that they must do while the interview process has started already. Now, the first statement, as you can see, does not answer our question because the interviewing panel is not playing any role. But when you read the second statement, it says there that Quresh introduced the members of the interviewing panel to each candidate. Now, does that sound like a role of the interviewer? It definitely does. So then you are going to quote the statement like I have done as it appears from the scenario. It then says that he also provided each interviewee the opportunity to ask questions. Now, this is another role which you will then quote exactly as it appears from the scenario. Now, you will then look at the last statement. As we read, it says that the successful candidate was given an employment contract. Now, this is a distractor and does not answer the role of the interviewee. So therefore, you are not going to quote that statement as it is incorrect. Let's now look at our third application question, which says, explain other roles of the interviewer during an interview. Now, I cannot stress this enough. When the question says we must explain other roles, it simply means that we are not going to take the responses that have already been given to us in the scenario. We need to then find our own that are different. Now, let's check. It says there that we must ensure that each candidate is allocated the same amount of time for their interviews. So if as an interviewing panel we decide that we are going to give each interviewee 30 minutes for an interview, it means that all of them need to be granted their 30 minutes equally. We must also ensure that members of the interviewing panel should be introduced to the interviewee at the commencement of the interview. So this simply means that when you are about to start the interview, you need to then introduce all the people that are there so that the interviewee can feel a little bit relaxed and is able to think about what it is that they are going to say during the interview. We must also then explain the purpose of the interview to the interviewee as well as the interview panel. Now, this is to make sure that there are no misconceptions that are happening, so that both the interviewee and the interviewer know exactly which interview they are interviewing or which job they are actually there for. And then we must make the interviewee feel at ease. So this is to make sure that the interviewee is not too scared to even answer questions effectively. So when you make them feel at ease, they are more comfortable and they are more able to give solutions or answers rather that are effective and answer the questions that have been asked. And then we must also record the interview responses of the interviewees for future reference or if disputes occur. So in simple terms, when I am interviewing, I might ask to say, are you willing to work on Saturdays and Sunday? If you say yes, I need to record what you have said so that I can use it for future purposes. In case you get the job, you might be required to work on a Saturday or a Sunday and you refuse. So I am able to go back to the interview notes and say, but you have agreed during the interview. We must also ensure that the interviewee should not be misled or be misinformed deliberately. So in simple terms, you must not mislead the interviewee by making them think, for example, that they already got the job. Or you must not give them false information that are going to maybe dismiss them or maybe make them not feel more interested in the job anymore. We must then provide an opportunity for the interviewee to ask questions. So interviewees can also have their own questions that they might want to find out about the business, such as the working hours, or maybe how much it is that they're paid for overtime, and so forth. Lastly, you must conclude the interview by thanking the interviewee for attending the interview. Now, you might ask yourself, what is the reason for thanking the interviewee? Because they are the ones looking for the job. Now, remember that it might be the case, but the business is also looking for a candidate to fill in the vacant position. So if no one comes for the interview, it means that the position will not be filled. Therefore, it is important for the interview panel to thank the candidates for coming and taking their time to attend the interview. Now, I want you to think about what is it that you can do differently that is a role of the interviewer in making sure that the interviewee is feeling at ease. As you think about it, we are going to go to a quick ad break. See you soon.